Hello and welcome back to Riding the Pine. This is our review of Game 15 of the 2020-21 Chicago Blackhawks season. Tonight, the Blackhawks fell to the Columbus Blue Jackets by a score of 6-5, dropping their record to 6-5-4 on the season. And before we get to the review, please do me a really big favor and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And also hit that notifications button so when we upload our videos, you know that we are uploading and you can see our content. And if you have any comments either on the game or players or on us and our opinions, please leave those down below as well. Again, tonight I'm joined by Chi sports fan Joe. Joe, how are you doing after this
Hey, Kyle, good to
tough
talk to you.
loss?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we kind of disappointing to, not come away with points tonight. I think, everyone, including myself, all thought this game was another one where we're going to try to get out of it. We're going to get 2 points, at worst case 1, but to come away with 0, it's a little painful, but, I think we all knew there's going to be growing pains with this team. And tonight, I think those growing pains definitely showed up.
Yep. Tough loss. I think there's a lot to still take away from this game, despite the kind of real gut wrenching feeling that I think everybody's feeling right now. Hawks obviously fell behind off of a turnover by Beaudin while they were on the power play. They gave up a shorthanded goal. Cam Atkinson, who, by the way, is ridiculous tonight.
Yeah. What a player.
Yeah, him and Roslovic. Boy, and yeah, Roslovic was the throw-in with the Patrick Laine trade, and I said Winnipeg was getting raped in that trade, and boy, doesn't
I think
look
with
good for
Roslovic, especially Columbus being his hometown, he's wanting to prove, to his hometown, he's a great player, and he's proven it thus far.
I mean, 2 goals in 20 minutes tonight in regulation. That's pretty good,
Right.
especially for Tortorella. So, but anyway, yeah. Just kind of overall, I thought obviously the Kane Suter Debrincat line has been very good. I think Alex Debrincat, I mean, what a turnaround in his play from last year. And we had talked about it when we were tweeting at each other during the game that like just his forechecking and defensive awareness is so much better this season, even particular just since he's come back since being on the COVID protocol list. Goal and 2 assists tonight. I think he's got what is it like 12 points in like 8 games or something crazy like that. Well, not 12 and 8. I think this was his 11th game of the season. I think maybe 10th.
Yeah, he now has multi-point outings in 6 of 11 games, including 4 of the last 5.
Yeah, I mean he's been phenomenal, and I don't think he's mooching off Kane either, because I know sometimes when you're playing with Patrick Kane, your stats can get inflated, and I don't think that's part of it at all. I think he's playing with much more vigor and much more intensity and much more of a complete player. And Suter scored again tonight, so he's coming along good. So that's nice to see with that line clicking.
Yeah, the rookies, really making their marks. Congrats to Mitchell on his first NHL goal, and then not long after that, Beaudin gets his first NHL goal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This defense, when they get more experienced and more developed, this defense is going to be something to contend with. And we haven't even seen Kalanick in the NHL yet, or Alec Regula, and those are just the 2 big boys that are in the actually in the system right now. Obviously, there's some other prospects that haven't been signed yet. So a lot to like, I think, for the future of the defense. And it was nice to see, I think, Beaudin not only pick up his first goal tonight, but he also picked up an assist on Suter's goal. So to pick up 2 points in this game after a pretty egregious turnover, on the power play, actually. I think that's he's definitely putting himself, like, you can't take him out of the lineup. I think I tweeted that tonight. You can't take him out of the lineup. So when Boquist is ready to get back in there, which may be as soon as Saturday, I think Carlson's probably going to be the odd man out. And if they do go with a seventh defenseman, you're probably going to see either Bowie or Kalanick get in there. But I think Carlson's probably the odd man out right now. For at least in terms of if you go with 6 guys once Boquist returns. But I am really excited, I think, about the future of the defense. Unfortunately, I mentioned this to you before we started recording. The second line tonight was just invisible. And Strome only played 12 minutes. That's really low for Strome. Strome's usually around at least minimum like 17 minutes a game. So that's 5 minutes at least that was cut off his ice time compared to most nights this season. And, you got to get Kubalik scoring. I don't know how you get him scoring, but you got to find a way to get him scoring.
Yeah. And, again, I don't know if this is just, like I said, maybe he's feeling the effects of not having Taves, with him on his line. If it's just, and I know, like I said, he's it's blinded because, Kubalik has had points in, I think, 12 of 15 games, but I know we were talking most of his production is on the power play. And, we need to see more of his production in 5-on-5.
Well, Patrick Kane made a comment. We made 2 comments I want to talk about during the post-game show tonight, and one of which was, and I think probably in reference to the second line, really. I think all 3 of them, and that would be Kubalik, Strome, and Janmark. He had made a comment that, that they have players on their team. He was basically asked, what went wrong? Why weren't they able to close it out, being up 3-1, 4-2, and then 5-4? And he had made a comment that, we've got a lot of players that you would think would be able to create that puck possession that you need to kind of control the game. And that's something I think that gets lost in this game, even though the Hawks had 5 goals. Their puck, I don't have the advanced analytics in front of me, but their puck possession tonight was horrific. I think they said that Columbus had like 67 shot attempts, just way, way too many. And obviously, what did they have in regulation? They had 43 shots.
Yeah, I was going to say 43 shots on goal.
Yeah, that's way too much. And I think, part of that is, granted, you gave up 3 penalties, but even with 3 penalties, I think you still should be able to hold your opponent to about 35 shots. So there's about 10 shots there that shouldn't have been allowed, that I would have liked to have seen blocked or taken off the board. And then just, like I said, you get worn down, you start making bad plays. Puck possession's a big deal. And that second line tonight just didn't have it. I wasn't tracking this during the game, so I don't know if you had seen this, but Khrushchev was on the third line tonight with Soderberg and Hagel. And I thought that, we haven't talked about Hagel, but I thought Hagel had a really nice game. Didn't get it, rewarded for it. But
Right. It's like, yeah, man, we just keep waiting for him to crack the back of the net. I mean, he's getting so many great opportunities, but they'll fall sooner or later.
well, and he made that great play right the other night in Dallas to Suter, that pass. Um, he's looking almost like a Brandon Saad clone. If he could just get, hopefully, if the skill develops, he's going to be a real nice player. And I had said on Twitter that I'm really excited, I think, to watch him develop, especially next season when hopefully Taves and Doc are back and the lineup is more balanced, just to see him with some more skilled players. Because let's be honest, Soderberg's not exactly skilled. And then, Kurashev's a rookie who, and that's, I guess, what I was going to lead to is, did Kurashev get any minutes with anybody else tonight? It didn't look like it. He only played under 12 minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't think I said I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think he did either.
Yeah, so I guess, maybe something that I would look into, and this may sound weird, being that they scored 5 goals tonight, but just it was almost all the production was the Kane line. They scored what, 3 goals? Kane
Yeah.
had a goal, Debrincat had a goal, and Suter had a goal. Then you had the Kane scored on the power play though, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
And then well, yeah, the two defensemen, Mitchell and Beaudin. So all your offense came from your defense or your first line. That's not exactly a recipe to win. It's nice, obviously, your defense getting involved. You love to see that. But you need more than one offensive line scoring. Like, and obviously we haven't mentioned it yet, but Andrew Shaw is out with concussion symptoms again.
Which, yeah, you feel horrible for him, and you hate to say it, but you just hope this isn't the end of his career, but it sure might head that way.
Yeah, I don't know. And he was having a good season too, so that's the bad thing. But you just gotta hope that he gets better. But I guess what my point, he's out of the lineup tonight, and I don't think that is what threw the lines off. Obviously, they had to juggle the lines a little bit, and then add in the fact that you're going with 11-7 again. I just, I think I want to see that. What are we, 2 games now back into this 11-7? Have some confidence in your rookies and go with 6 defensemen and 12 forwards. I and like I said, like I don't. It's not that I don't want Bowie to play or have some vendetta against him. He had an assist tonight, but I'd mentioned it. Why did they call Kalanick back up? I don't understand.
That's
Like,
I know we had talked about earlier, and my guess is if you wonder if they do this 7 defenseman thing again, do they replace maybe Carlson with Kalanick?
well, see, that's just it. I mean, do you think Bowie's better than Carlson?
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
maybe, yeah. Like I said, I don't know if they're just going off the fact that you could never have enough defensemen. You'd rather have more defensemen than you would
yeah,
offensemen.
yeah, I get that. I guess my point is like, he's your big stud. Like, he's the next man up in Rockford, right? And he's played in 2 games now down there. Scored his first goal the other night. But what he's played 2 games in a year. Um, and Boquist is back. Like I said, I am assuming he will play Saturday. I mean, what's that? That's about a week, right, since he came off, right around that, maybe 5 days.
Yeah, the protocol. Yeah.
Yeah, so I assume the Saturday is probably when he gets back in the lineup. So you're probably taking at least Bowie out. If I know I say Carlson probably comes out, but I mean Carlson played 14 minutes tonight, so he played more than Bowie. Um, I guess that's why I just don't understand why you're calling up Kalanick when you've got Bowie here, and Bowie has to clear waivers, I believe, doesn't he?
To
Well,
be sent back down, or
I don't know. Well, because they signed him during the season, he had to clear waivers, but he is 25.
yeah.
So maybe he'll clear. Maybe he's waivers exempt, but I just don't. Like I said, you got Boquist that's got to get in, if not Saturday, then next week. But I don't know. It's just weird. It was a weird move. Um, yeah, but like I don't really have any issue with the defense. They've got to juggle the forward lines again now that Shaw is out. That changed obviously the line a little bit tonight, and then when you go with that 11-7 formula, kind of makes it even more complicated. So I don't know. I don't know if you bump Kurashev up and drop Myanmar down, or if you drop Kubalik down and maybe put Kurashev, because Strome was bad at the dot again tonight. He was at 30%.
Yeah, he's kind of fallen off, his early success at the dot a little bit here.
Yeah, and I mean, let me see.
Which is a little alarming, but
What does this tell me? Oh, wait a minute here. No, for whatever reason in the actual stat, or wait, there it is. So Kurashev is 47% at the dot. I don't know what Strome is, but Strome's probably around that, maybe worse. Strome's at 47 too. So, or wait, no, that's the career. Yeah, this season Strome's at 45. So it doesn't really make much of a difference, but just to get a different look, like I don't know, you need Strome doing more, and you need Kubalik to start scoring, and Kurashev has shown flashes throughout the season. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd move Hagel up there. I think they tried that for a game, and I didn't really like it. Just because I guess of the personnel they have, but because that's not to say Hagel's not top 6 or won't be top 9 or whatever. It's just with the combination of players that you have, right? You got to find something that works. And right now, that second line is just not working. I mean, Strome has not had a point in the last 2 games. He has 2 points in his last 5, goal and an assist. So he'd like to see more from him. Kubalik, probably a little bit better, actually. Yeah, Kubalik has 6 in his last 5. But 2 of those games, nothing. Actually, 5 of those 6 points came in the first 2 of those 5 games. So I don't know. They just something's got to go with like the offense. Like, you can't rely on Kane and Debrincat. Like,
yeah, and I think that's kind of the big thing right now is trying to find other lines and other production. And like you said, I think Kubalik's got to step up, and even some of these younger guys, Kurashev is, and I'm not going to say, sit here and, well, Kurashev's got to put up 25, 30 goals. That's, that's unrealistic.
well, yeah, he's not going to do that. But
right. But you just got to see, like you said, we got to get some more production from people who aren't, Kane and Debrincat. So.
Yeah, well, and even Suter, because Suter's been averaging, I think, about a point per game, close to that. So I mean, that's great to see, but I think it's just the absence of that second line. And when you have, obviously, Kane and Debrincat went off tonight, but and look, Columbus is not a good team. They're just not. The Hawks should have won this game.
It's like, I don't know. They just, you got Atkinson, Roslovic, Line. And Korpisalo's normally a pretty good goalie, And I mean, I feel like, but though, you look at the second and the third periods, I mean, they really, because they outshot the Hawks, I think in the second, what was it, 18-10, and then in the third, I think it was 17-7. So, I mean, and then I think the Hawks outshot them 9-8, but they really looked pretty good with this. Their skilled guys showed up tonight. Their speed guys showed up. And, like I said, and I know the Hawks took some ill-timed penalties to kind of let them get back into the game. But, I mean, it was like, I felt like it was that, especially later in that third period, it was like Columbus had us on our heels pretty much for that latter part of the third period.
Yeah, but so I think that's just like I think Colleton. I mean, Colleton's really impressed me. I think this season, but like he kind of nailed it. Like it was really self-inflicted. Like most of the chances and the pressure that Columbus had, and I think you're right. It definitely like you could feel in the game, especially the third period, that it was heading south, right? And it kind of felt when they got that 5-4 lead again, it's like, oh, they're going to hang on. And then the pressure just kept mounting. And then obviously, game was tied. And then what was it, 50 seconds later, something like that?
Yeah, it was like, well, I know when they tied the game, I think at 5, there was like 3 minutes. Was it like 3 minutes left? And then it was like they were just, Columbus was putting relentless pressure. We couldn't get the puck out of the zone. And then the puck, hits the post. And I think was it Atkinson that shot it, that hit the post, and then Del Zotto puts it in. And and you're like, oh well, there's the tie. And then like I said, the one where whoever scored the sixth goal for Columbus, I mean, I think that's one we both agree, yeah, Lincoln should have had. But again, what are you gonna do? But and it was like how he shot it. I don't know how he got that shot off, because I thought I saw Zadorov's stick was right in front of that puck, and I was like, how did he get that puck off?
Yeah, I
But
mean, that's the other thing. There was I don't. The Hawks should have won this game. I
no
mean,
question, yeah.
there were bad bounces. Like this, we'll get to Lincoln in a minute, but this was not his best game.
No, right.
Um, and there were turnovers. Like the first goal was completely self-inflicted. Um, the what was it? Hagel, was it the fourth goal that Hagel almost? You could argue Hagel put it in the net himself.
Yeah, where he tried to like swat it, and
Yeah, it looked like, was it? It was either the third or fourth goal, I think. That the their player basically got mustard on it, but Hagel's stick was there. It was who really put the puck in the net. I guess you could say the force was from their player, but Hagel's stick was there. And it was off a Lincoln and rebound. So, that's, you got to clean that up with your defense and your goalie. But again, like I said, I'm not impressed with Columbus. I'm just not. The Hawks should have won the game. They made stupid turnovers. They made dumb penalties. Goaltending could have been better. And they only had one line tonight. So, and obviously, you even Beaudin's goal, you could say that's puck luck, because Zadorov shot it, and they got a rebound off the end boards, and the puck popped out right to Beaudin, and he roofed it over Corpusalo. I think it was stick side or glove side. I don't remember, but yeah, it is what it is. But let's get to Lankinen. So he stopped 37 of 43 shots. His save percentage was .860 tonight. Obviously, as we said, not his best game. What's your take on him? And do you think he should sit on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I know we had talked about this before, and I just didn't know, now that I mean, not to say his confidence is completely shaken. I mean, I think he knows, hey, I'm not going to have my best game night in and night out. But now that it's a little bit shaky to say, all right, maybe do you give him a break? Do you just say, okay, well, kind of take this, let it sink in, and do you go with Subban Saturday night? I mean, I know you had said probably not that they're going to go to Lincoln again, which I see that too, because I'm sure Lincoln wants to get back out there and say, you know what, whatever. Hey, I had a bad game. It happens. I'm putting it behind me, and I'm going to have a better game on Saturday. So maybe he'll be more motivated, and he'll be, more ready to go come Saturday's game. But I mean, I think if I'm making the decision, I would say I'd put in Subban, but again, that's just me. But and again, I hope Lincoln, and if he does get the start on Saturday, that he comes back and has a better game, which I think he will, and especially with the defense, and they know they got to correct some things with not taking ill-timed penalties, and cleaning up some things on the penalty kill too. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind who either. If he starts, I'm fine with it. If Subban starts, I'm fine with it. I'm indifferent.
Well, and I know I had said to you, so my initial thought was you probably see Subban Saturday, but I think if it was me, I'm throwing Lankinen back out there because I think I guess I would be. I don't see, and I said this to you before we started recording. I don't see much point in, or much of a positive, I guess, is the better way to put it, of putting Subban in Saturday over Lankinen, simply because uh, even if they win, right, or let's say they lose, what's the difference if it's Subban or Lankinen in that regard? I think it's more important. You even said it. I didn't even bring this up to you. You want to see Lankinen rebound, right?
Right.
This is a big test for him because he didn't have a good game tonight. We haven't seen him have a game like this and then have to come back 2 days later. So I think there's that you want to see him, whether he can rebound and his development and progression as a number one goalie. And also, I think if you sit him, it's kind of like it's one of those things where you go, oh, Jesus, as a player, if I have a bad game, that's it. I'm done. And all this work that I just did, for the last 3 weeks, it's all out the window now because I had this bad game. And I don't think, and we've talked about Lankinen's confidence, and hopefully he doesn't do that. But I think, all it takes is a little seed to kind of start to, what's the word, like hit away at that confidence. So I'd throw him back out there, try to get his confidence back up, see if he can rebound from not having a good game. And then, really, even though he had a bad game, he's not the reason they lost. I don't think. Yeah, turnovers, and really what the game was, and we haven't even talked about. I mean, we've briefly talked about it, but Highmore's penalty in the third period that changed the game,
Right. Right.
and you just can't do that. And Highmore had an assist tonight. He didn't have a terrible game other than that penalty. But if I'm Colleton, we're talking about whether Lankinen plays Saturday. To me, Highmore sits Saturday, and I'm putting Johnson in or Lucas Walmart. Lucas Walmart came off COVID protocol, so he's able to get another look. We haven't seen him in a long time. Because he was even scratched before they put him on the COVID list. So whether it's Reese Johnson or Lucas Walmart, I'm taking Highmore out just because, a message needs to be sent. It's not, if we were talking about more of an offensive player like a Kurashev or a Suter or whatever, you probably don't take him out. But with Highmore, hey, you're a bottom six player. You're not and Hagel may be a top 9. We don't know. We have to see how he continues to develop. But with Highmore, I mean, Highmore's a vet too, kind of. He's been around for about 3 years now. So he should know better. And You just can't be making plays like that, especially when you're relied upon as being one of those shutdown guys that's in the bottom six. So, I'm sitting him just even if it's just for one game, and getting either Johnson back in or Walmart back in. And something I wanted to comment to you on that I talked about in the first period. I don't know if you noticed this. I didn't. So I'm wondering if there's something wrong with the stats or whoever was taking stats at the United Center. There were 69 hits in this game.
How many?
69. There were 30 in the first period. Now, so the Hawks had 32 hits tonight. To put that in reference, I went back and looked. The entirety of the game in overtime against Dallas, the last game, the Hawks had 11 hits. They had 32 tonight. Columbus had 37. That is insane. I don't know if something's just off with the people that were, counting the hits.
Yeah.
Or if, I didn't think the game was all that physical tonight, but the stats say it was.
I mean, unless they were just counting little hits away from the play, or I don't know how they count hits, but sometimes, I think they could be over construed. What constitutes a hit and what doesn't, but I don't know.
I mean, Seth Jones was credited with 7 hits tonight. I don't know if he normally has that many hits, but that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
For him. Does this tell me? No, of course it doesn't. But yeah, so that was interesting. And that just made me think too. I wonder if that's why the second line was so irrelevant tonight, was the physicality. Because Kubalik, obviously, like we've talked about, is not great defensively. Strome is kind of slow-footed. And Janmark, I don't know, more of a two-way forward, you could say, but he was -2.
That's not like him either.
No. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting stat because that's a very physical game. And this is the first team that we've seen for 3 games now. So, maybe you could see the physicality going up a little bit, but I mean, to that, almost 70 hits. That's like an Edmonton Calgary game. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, Kubalik's even credited with 3 hits.
right. And I don't know if you follow, because I know I just saw this now, that. I don't know if you follow James Naveau, is his name? I don't know.
I think we do on the show's Twitter, but I do not follow him.
Yeah, he just said, he tweeted out, we're getting extremely close to bench Zadorov for at least a game territory. He's getting outworked everywhere, and he's been technically unsound basically throughout his tenure so far. The physicality isn't making up for it. I don't know.
I don't agree with that. Well, I mean, in previous games, sure, but I don't know why he's tonight was one of his best games. He had an assist. He was a +1, had 6 hits, had a block shot, had 1 takeaway and 2 giveaways. And he only played 16 minutes. So, and there was one shift that he actually had in this game where he had blocked a shot or with his stick, took away a passing lane, right? And then I think he blocked a shot, then the rebound went back to the player, and then he had blocked a pass with his stick. And then they went along to the Hawks bench, and Zadorov ended up falling down, but he still knocked the puck out into the neutral zone off whoever's stick it was. And that was like 3 consecutive plays that were all great defensively by him. So I don't know what Nouveau watched tonight, but clearly we watched 2 different games.
Yeah.
Now you can, and you and like I am not a Zadorov fan. Like I specifically have said I don't see him as a top 4 defenseman, and I don't think it's fair to him that they're playing him as one. But he didn't play top 4 minutes tonight. He played 15:53. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with that. That's like the sweet spot for him. I mean, and he's providing you 6 hits.
Right.
I mean, he did have a penalty, but and it wasn't, a great one either, but I don't know. I don't that seems kind of weird. Do you have any thoughts on that? Did you think he was bad tonight?
No, I mean, like I said, I just feel like, and I love, not to say I love Zadorov, but I just like him because he's a big body. He wins battles in the defensive zone, and he's physical, and he's kind of a nuisance for an opposition when he's defending, in his own zone. But lately, it's like, yeah, between taking ill-timed penalties, turning the puck over.
All right, we're back here. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties on my end. Mike fell and got disconnected, so we kind of had to do a stop-start here. But throw it back to Joe. He was talking about Zadorov and the game tonight.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. And what I was saying about Zadorov is just, again, I like him. To reiterate, I like him because he's physical. He can win puck battles in the defensive zone, and really help get our forwards the puck and make breakouts. And he's also a nuisance, kind of both in the corners and in front of the net to the opposition. But I think what many Blackhawks fans, including me, have feel like his liabilities are outweighing his assets, to put it that way. He's been taking some ill-timed penalties. He's committing some pretty costly turnovers. So, and a lot of people are saying he's obviously not the quickest defenseman either, but that's because he's a bigger framed player. But I don't know. I don't. Do you sit him one game just to kind of maybe get, like you said, Kyle, maybe get a Kalynuk in there and see how he does in his place? I don't know if that's the best answer because to take away a veteran versus
Yeah,
a rookie,
mean,
you know.
with Murphy being out now, no, I don't. You know, you got DeHaan and Keith, and then Zadorov. Those are your 3 most experienced defenders. And like I said, and it kind of works. This works out. So you got Keith on your first pair, the vet, DeHaan on your second, vet, and then you got Zadorov on your third, your vet. And Zadorov is a third pair defenseman. And so, like I said, I don't. I mean, maybe if I went back and watched the game, but I didn't notice. And like I said earlier, like I'm first, and for those that listen to the podcast, that this isn't your first time listening, I'm constantly on Zadorov, and how much they play him and how they use him. But I thought he was perfect tonight, to be honest. I think keeping him in that third pair role, especially like, if you're bringing Boquist back, Saturday or whether it's next week, that's that's the pairing you had out there. And the idea is that, you've got Zadorov out there to protect Boquist because Boquist isn't the biggest guy. And, you want somebody out there, you don't want to take, the other team taking liberties with Boquist. So no, I don't think so. I think what you do is you increase, and then like this is what I was saying. You take minutes away from Zadorov shouldn't be playing 20 minutes a game. I think everybody agrees on that. But he played 16 minutes tonight. I think that's about the sweet spot, 15 to 16 minutes, third pair minutes. And then, you play Mitchell 20 minutes a game. You play him 18 minutes a game, which is what they've been doing the last 2 games. Beaudin, yes, he had a costly turnover tonight, but he also had a goal and an assist. And he's been very effective on the power play. We'll see if Boquist gets back in. That's going to be interesting because we haven't seen Beaudin play in a game with Boquist yet, at least this season. I don't recall if Beaudin, the one game that he played last season, if Boquist was in the lineup or not. I think Boquist actually might have been injured. Was Boquist injured at the end of last season during the pause? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't not that not anything I remember it, but no, I don't think so.
Well, I know DeHaan was, and then DeHaan came back, so maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But either way, we haven't seen him this season together, and obviously that's Keith's been on like power play one, and then you've had Boquist on the other. So maybe maybe they take Keith off of it and put Boquist on the power play one, keep Beaudin on power play two. I don't know. But that's going to be an interesting development. But yeah, I don't think, especially now, I think you're kind of dumb to want to take Zadorov out of the lineup or even DeHaan. And I've been one to sit here and go, scratch one of these guys. DeHaan's been terrible. Zadorov's been terrible. But now that Murphy's out for the next 2 weeks, you can't do that. I mean, you just, that's the one bad thing about having all these rookies on defense is they're so inexperienced. Like if you've got 4 defensemen that are all rookies out of your 6, probably not a good recipe for success. And like I said, you can up their minutes as in the game, kind of hide or Zadorov. And like again, so like I said, you put Boquist with Zadorov. On Saturday, you bring Boquist back into the lineup. You give him third pair minutes, and you ease Boquist back into the game. You give him his power play time, so he'll pick up some extra minutes there. Like I don't look. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I don't know. I think Joe, you might like them, so and that's fine if you do. Like not throwing any shade or anything, but James Nouveau and his buddy Jay Zawoski are both morons. Like Jay Zawoski was flexing the other day that he gets 80,000 views, or no, he didn't even say views. He said listeners. That's what he said. He had 80,000 listeners. So somebody was bitching that 670 was not giving more than like a 90-second Hawks segment. And Zawoski said, I can't do anything. I just have 80,000 listeners on my podcast, which is, I'll shout it out. It's the Madhouse Hockey Pod. I've listened to it. I think Jay probably knows a little bit more than Nouveau does. But yeah, those two together and just in general, I think a lot of their takes are kind of, nah. But yeah, but to my point, there is no way in hell they have 80,000 listeners. Like if they have 80,000 listeners, Jay Zawoski would not be working for The Score as a producer. He would be running his own like podcast network. That is a huge, and he'd be doing what we're doing. Like Jay Zawoski, if you're listening to this and you really have 80,000 listeners, get your ass on YouTube and make your money, because I'm like, that isn't like, you would literally be making thousands of dollars a month. Thousands.
Well, right. I mean, and like I said, not to say we got to agree with all of them. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of
Oh, well, no, I'm just saying, like, I think that's that hot.
But hey, credit. I mean, it seems like they have, I don't know if Madhouse Pod has the most kind of Chicago Blackhawks fans listening to them.
I don't know. And it's really, it's a
Blackhawks podcasts out there. It's like,
right.
Who's the best one?
I think they have more notoriety, right? Because they work in the radio, the local Chicago radio industry, right? With the WGN.
Right. And then you I know you're familiar with obviously the Four Feathers podcast. So, I mean, there's so many of them that out there, it's like, well,
and that's like I said, that's just it too. One of the things we're struggling with, and I guess we can, just go off on this now, but like we're all competing for listeners. Like
Right.
a listener isn't going to listen to all of these podcasts. Like that's you got to put the work in and grow it. And that's part of the, we're just starting out. We probably have some of the lowest views out there. So it's not like I'm, trying to get into a stick measuring contest with them over there, but it's just I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they say. And, like
yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, I'm sure there's people that don't agree with what we say or,
well, yeah, and that's like the beauty of this show. I mean,
Right.
I like hearing differing opinions, as long as they're, civil for the most part. I think that's great. That's the whole point of this. But yeah, so yeah, I think I think the three of us, James included, probably all agree Zadorov should not be playing top 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused as to why tonight is when he's wanting to make that kind of a statement. And I know they're not a fan of Zadorov. And I think so. One of the points I want to make about that too is I think, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to get into podcasting and stuff too, is like I think the big pundits and media really influence a lot of what the fans think and say. And this is kind of, I think, similar to the Nylander deal, with trading Jokiharju. All the fans hate Nylander because they traded Jokiharju. Whereas I think this is kind of becoming a similar thing where Zadorov sucks because we traded Brandon Saad, and we all like Brandon Saad.
Right. And well, and it's like, and coming in, I mean, I thought Zadorov, I mean, I know Bowman hyped him up, and even Kane said, well, I'm so glad I don't have to play against Zadorov now because, he kind of gave Kane fits when, he was on the Avalanche. So I'm thinking like, all right, well, maybe, if they're saying, but obviously I know they're going to talk positively about anybody that they acquire or
Right.
trade or whatever. But I mean, I just feel like especially coming from, I kind of, it makes me feel more confident in it when it comes from a player like Patrick Kane, just because, Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane. But, especially when he says, yeah, I'm so glad I don't have to play against this guy now because he gave me nothing but headaches when I had to go up against him. So that made me feel a little bit better about it. But I mean, and again, I'm not a Zadorov hater. I don't, I wish him well, and I wish him success with the Hawks. And I just think there's just some things that he's got to clean up.
Well, yeah, like I said, he just
So-
shouldn't be on the ice as much as he is.
Right.
Or at least
Right.
tonight was a good sample, I think, for where he should be on the team minutes wise, and that he can be a good third pair defenseman. But I just, I don't want to get into like this. Oh, he's no good because we don't, there was another guy who's from another podcast that was bitching about Zadorov and specifically mentioned Brandon Saad as kind of like I did. Imagine if we had Panarin, he did. Oh, can you imagine if we had Doc, Taves, and Saad? And it's like, I don't want Saad back. Like, I might not like Zadorov, or I may not think Zadorov was like, I don't think Zadorov was a proper return for Saad. I don't, but I also don't want Saad back on the team. He's overpaid. He doesn't score enough, and his play was not what it was. Like, he peaked in 2015. He's never really eclipsed that, and he should have. And we've got Kurashev on the team now. We've got a Suter on the team, and we got $3 million more of cap space, plus Zadorov, and I'm content with that. I mean, again, I think we could have got a first-round pick for him. I think we could have got a prospect maybe for him, or even a better player than Zadorov. But the trade's been made, and Zadorov is fully capable as a third pair defenseman. And I'm good with that. I just, I think so many fans get attached to players that when they're traded, and they're so attached to the player that's traded, they immediately hate. Like if we're not getting Patrick Kane, or if we're not getting Jack Eichel, or if we're not, if we're not getting a superstar, right? Whoever comes in is automatically getting shade thrown at them because they're not the player that was traded. And I just think that's unfair. And, and look, if Brandon Saad was on this team, this is like, and we've been a little bit overly negative today. And I think that's not what I want either. Like this was a really bad loss, but this team is fun. I legitimately was having.
We knew coming in, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to have the best games every single game. We knew that. I mean, we didn't. I don't think anybody expected, to come out and say, "Oh, the Blackhawks after, 15 games are going to be 6-5-4." They're, I would have laughed at you if you said that. So they are they're over exceeding our expectations right now, and they're, like you said, they're fun. The rookies are out there, they're producing, and they're a thorn in most of these teams' sides. I think some teams, like we had talked about before, they're kind of coming in, okay, we're playing the Blackhawks. They're a young team. They don't know really. They're not going to have a lot of ability to win a game. Well, they're proving everybody wrong. And so I think some of these teams are like, well, we got to start taking the Blackhawks a little more seriously than maybe what we thought, because, they're a lot tougher team to play against than most people anticipated.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, look, the positive, the defense tonight, I opened when we opened the show, I said, when this defense, you can see it. When this defense gets more developed and more experienced, it's going to be one hell of a defense. And we don't even have Kalynuk on the roster. Well, he's on the taxi squad, but he hasn't played yet. And Regula's a big boy. He's 6'4". So everyone that hates Zadorov, maybe Regula replaces Zadorov. I know if you listen to Powers and Lazarus, that's one of the things they talked about in their show. Their latest episode was maybe Regula, spells Zadorov. But, I the defense is going to be good. And aside from that, we see what Suter did. Suter scored again tonight. He's putting up about a point per game. Hagel, 2 great breakaways. I mean, the kid plays his ass off, and you can't like him anymore for that. I mean, eventually he's going to get a goal, and the pucks are going to start going, and you would think. Kurashev's been amazing. Strome, not going to lie, needs to be better. Started really well this year, has kind of disappeared the last week. So I want to see more from him. I've called him out. That's the thing. I'm being across the board fair with these guys. I was saying Strome was having an MVP season 2 weeks ago, and now I'm calling him out. He needs to be better. Kubalik, if he can start going, and I want to like Kubalik, but he's doing nothing for this team right now. He just isn't. I mean, yeah,
right. You said, I think we know he's more of, at this point, he's more of a power play producer than he is.
Well, see, but that's what's I don't know what he is, because he didn't do that last year. He only had 4 power play points last year out of his 46 points. So it's not computing. Something's not right with him. And I know we talked about, well, he's missing Saad and he's missing Taves, and it's well, okay, but if that's all he is, do we really want him to be a part of the team? We need somebody that can consistently score, that's not Debrincat and that's not Kane. And Kubalik is kind of supposed to be that guy. Even with Doc and Taves on the roster, Kubalik is still kind of supposed to be that guy. You got Debrincat, Kane, and then Kubalik to kind of pick up the slack. And he's not doing it. And even if he was doing it, he's not even really doing it on the power play. He's got 3 goals in 15 games. That's 1 goal every 5 games. That's not enough from Kubalik.
Right.
And, yes, I don't like him as a player. Most people know that. But like I said, if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. Right now, he's not doing much. And we just need more out of him. And that whole second line, we need more out of Strome. So, but, there's a lot to like about this team. And, I mentioned it to Sherrod in DMs during the second period. I've consistently said they need to go out and get that last goal scorer once Taves and Doc come back, and this team's going to be scary. But they've got we don't know what Lucas Reichel's going to do yet, the first round pick from this past year. And then there's Artur Kaimov over in the KHL, which most people probably have no idea who that is. And he's putting up Panarin-like numbers over in the KHL. He's, I believe, 22, going on 23 years old. And he's basically matching Artemi Panarin's age 22, 23 season through points. And I've watched some highlights of him. He looks pretty good. If he turns out to be the next Artemi Panarin, well, we've got our scorer. I mean, so there's guys in the system that we haven't seen yet, which when you're seeing what we're seeing now that's on the team, it can only make you more excited, right? I think this team has needed this. And I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but they've really needed this. I think the fan base has needed this, where you've got these new young players that we can kind of get excited about, right? And see them progress and that kind of thing. I haven't felt and enjoyed watching the Blackhawks like this since 2013, which now is just a magical season, right? Where they were just dominating everybody. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be games like this, and you just got to write it off. Like, it sucks. They should have won. But yeah, rookies, bad puck luck, it happens. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love about this team. It fights. It's been in every game since game 4 of the season. Every game. It's been like a 1 goal. I think every game except for the 2 Detroit games have been like 1 goal games.
Right. No, exactly. So again, they're a young team. They're getting their feet wet, and they're gonna, like I said, we know they're gonna have games like the game they had tonight. And it's just a matter of how do they respond. I'll be very interested to watch the game Saturday, and to see how they respond to the game that they just played tonight.
We had a preview going into Saturday, so we'll do a preview for that. I agree with you. I think Saturday's a big game for them. As big as the last game against Dallas was, where I said they needed to make a statement to prove they were legit. This was a bad loss tonight. It stings. And I think Saturday they need to come out and they need to win Saturday. You don't want to say game 16 is a must win, but I think for the betterment of the team, they need to win Saturday. Lankinen needs to rebound. If I'm starting him, he needs to rebound. And the team overall needs to be better. Defensively, they need to be better. And by defensively, I mean really kind of the forechecking and the back checking and all of that. Smarter with the puck. A lot of different things that they can do better. This is the first game in quite a while that they've given up this many goals as well. So there's a lot that they can do there to improve. And I think we've kind of already went through our lineup changes. Do you agree with me? Do you think Highmore should sit Saturday?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that penalty, I think tonight was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back a little bit there. But I think, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to say the least if he's not in the lineup on Saturday.
Would you rather see Johnson or Walmart replace him?
I I mean, yeah, give Johnson another shot. Another shot. I mean, but I don't know if they're going to try, to get Walmart back in the lineup after missing so much time. But I
Yeah.
guess that remains to be seen.
Do you think Boquist makes it into the lineup on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you like you said, you got to try to get him back in. So
Yeah, and he's been back, I think, about 5 days now. Since he's been
I'll be
practicing.
surprised if he's not in the lineup.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's just some notes, some stuff that I had seen that I tweeted out that I think is relevant to talk about. So the NHL is apparently going to change the draft lottery rules. So we'll be hearing more about that coming up. And I guess maybe to be more specific on that, the teams that finish, I think, like the percentages, top three worst teams, I think they're going to stagger that a little bit more, or weight it a little bit more, I guess is the better word, to where, like, if you're Detroit, I know a lot of teams were mad and a lot of GMs kind of commented that Detroit was really, really, really bad last year. And the fact that they ended up with the fourth overall pick wasn't good. And that's not to say that they should have ended up with the first overall pick, right? But it's more that they ended up with the fourth pick versus the second or third, I think. So there's likely going to be some weighted changes based on when you finish in the standings. And I think even more importantly, it certainly looks like we're going to have no draft this year, and we're going to have 2 drafts in July of next year. So, Joe, do you have any thoughts on that?
yeah, it'll be weird to see. I mean, I guess to have that happen, um, because originally I don't know if the scouting ratings are going to change on players, especially ones that are in the top three. I mean, but yeah, to not have to see these guys be playing, and could things change? Maybe, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see who was projected to be top 10 or top 20, and be either drop out or move up, or but again, it's so hard to get a grasp on what player you think is going to be right for your team, because they're not playing. So
Right. I think it's definitely the right move to move this year's draft just because so many players aren't playing. And they're like in Canadian juniors, there's some players that have dropped down to tier 2 juniors. And, it's hard to kind of evaluate them because they're playing against, inferior players that they were playing against back up in the OHL or the CHL, I guess, whether that be the OHL or the Quebec Major Junior League or the Western Hockey League or what have you. And then there's a lot of guys that are over in Europe, and there's just probably, at least a third, if not half of the players that could be drafted that just aren't playing right now, or they have played and they've only played like 10 games. So I think it's the right move to move the draft. It's definitely going to be interesting, though, because the players in that draft are going to be older when you pick them, and they should be more. I think what you're going to see is there'll probably be less steals, right? So everyone's going to get a better look at the players. You're going to know kind of they've filled out more, right? They've grown more into, they're becoming more adults. They should be bigger and stronger a year out from their draft year. So you're probably not going to find a lot of like diamonds in the rough, if you will, like you would in a normal draft year, just because everyone's had more time to view these players. They're more developed, etc. But that's definitely going to be interesting, right? So, and it's definitely an interesting dynamic to the draft because you'll know where you're going to be when you're scouting the players, right? So say the Hawks finish with, middling record. So let's say they get they have the 12th overall pick. You're going to know probably who's going to be there for you in advance. So you can really, and that's going back to what I'm talking about, where since you know where you're going to be, you can really hone in on certain players. So it's going to be, I think, a lot harder to really steal a guy, or for a guy that, might rise and fall after a normal draft. And, everybody likes doing redrafts, right? So, for example, Taves being 3rd overall, his draft year would probably be number 1 overall if they redid the draft. Kind of an idea. Debrincat would not be a 2nd round pick, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely going to be interesting. I think it's like we talked about, definitely needs to probably be done. But definitely interesting things, I think, to keep your eye on. But with that, everybody, I just wanted to keep you kind of updated on news around the league that I think is relevant to both the league and the Hawks. Yep, unfortunately, tonight, Blackhawks had a gut-wrenching loss, 6-5 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Their record fell to 6-5-4 on the season. They will end this 2-game series Saturday against these same Blue Jackets at the United Center before they go on a long road trip. So, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and let's go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will talk to you Saturday.